let's get this DVD or not, no DVD. I wish I had this movie on DVD. I didn't know this movie was out on DVD. I'm talking about Witchcraft from
Right. 19,
1970.
what this
Not
might say
1970, 1964. Oh
Yeah.
God. It was back in the whatever 90s or whenever MGM used to do these two movies on one disc. That
Right.
was one of them, and I don't remember ever seeing it. It was with another British Devils of Darkness. That was it.
Devils of Darkness.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that was it. So this was on there, and I went on Amazon. They want like $35 for it, and I was like, I don't think so. Considering those were like $14 when they were on back in the old Best Buy days when you used to get movies cheap at Best Buy. So anyway.
Yeah. Jeez, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, for a Blu-ray, I guess I wouldn't mind, but for a DVD, no, I don't think so. No. Anyway, so yeah, this movie, I didn't recognize the actors in it, honestly. I think I've seen them before, but there were nobody. There was, I mean, except for, of course, the obvious one, Lon Chaney
Right.
Jr. Who was kind of in it real. He probably did like 2 or 3 days
Yeah.
of filming and
Yeah.
screaming and yelling and you know. I mean,
Yes.
by that point, his voice was pretty shot. So from all the drinking or whatever. So you know,
Yeah.
according to the reports, it was like you had to film his scenes like before noon because after noon he was already wasted from drinking.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a bad drunk. He did last till like 70. This movie 64. He passed away in 73. So he had another. I don't know. He did, hit 9 years of movies. He did do other. He did do other movies that were satanic too. There was one called. Oh God, was it The Devil's Disciple? I think that was another one. And then he did like some Swedish TV show called 1313 Demon Street. So he did quite a few things. I'm not sure if this was around the time he did that episode of Route 66 with poor Boris and Peter Lorre. I think it was early, but he was still, he was still working till he passed away.
But his last movie was Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Yeah, and before that was a female bunch.
Yeah, the female bunch.
Now, was there another movie called oh God, not 1313 Demon Street, but oh, it's got devilish name to it. I can't think of it right now, but if you're looking at the
Billy's in the Haunted House, Fireball Jungle, Buckskin, Dr. Terror's Galaxy of Horrors. I don't see
it's before that. Look in 63, 64, 65.
Devil's Messenger.
That's one of them. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
And
it
there's
was
another one too.
re-edited from various episodes of 13 Demon Street.
That's it. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
He did another one too, but I can't remember right now. But anyway, he's at the beginning of this movie, and he's really the only person I recognize from this movie. But I'm sure of all these people were in British
Right.
television or horror movies,
Or
and
just
sometimes
just some
if you don't recognize the actors, the movie's more effective because it's kind of a weird
Right.
feeling.
Yeah, sometimes if you like with Lon Chaney, I mean, he's been in so many movies that you've seen. You're aware you're watching Lon Chaney, but if
Right.
you have unknown actors, you can sort of get more into the story because you're not watching people you know.
Exactly. It happens a lot with like Italian horror movies too.
Right.
You're kind of watching them, and okay, yeah, Barbara Steele's in this, but I don't recognize anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, and I'm trying to get on. I think again, this is tech stuff, but so I'm trying to get on, Firefox right now, and
Right.
I've got all these stupid ads that are popping up. So somewhere along the line, I got to get the ad blocker working or whatever. So I got all this crap. But anyway, I was trying to look up these people, but I'll go on my other browser or whatever. So at any
Yeah,
rate, yeah.
like all
So
the
this is from
Avengers or yeah, English.
yeah. Well, Don Sharp, the director, directed Hammer movies. He directed Kiss of the Vampire, and oh god, there's some other ones too. He directed television too. I know he did
Yeah,
TV shows.
Ghost Squad, The Professionals, The Adventures of Hal 5. What the heck is that?
I'm sure he worked on the Avengers too. I'm not sure, but I think he worked on the Avengers
Uh,
television.
yeah, yeah, as a director, yeah, and apparently he a writer too.
Not in this movie, but yeah,
Yeah, he was also a writer as well. Yeah, he did Hammer films. He did work on the Avengers.
he did. What did he do besides Kiss of the Vampire?
Let's see. Hammer House of Horrors.
Oh,
That's
that was a TV show. Yeah, those are good.
Four Feathers, Psychomania.
Oh, that's the bikers. Those are
Yeah,
like devil bikers or something like
yeah.
that.
Places, which he also apparently wrote. That starred Christopher Lee, Joan Collins, and Herbert Lom. Um, Tales of Excitement. I'm not sure.
Tales of Excitement.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that one
sounds,
is.
that sounds pretty good, actually.
A mystery thriller.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Jules Verne, Rocket to the Moon, Brides of Fu Manchu,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, one of those Christopher Lee Fu Manchu movies. Yep.
Kiss of the Vampire. It's all happening. That's a comedy. Ghost Squad. That's a TV series. So yeah, he did a lot of stuff.
I'm trying to look him up right now. He did a lot of stuff in the 60s. I don't know if he did anything, if he did much in the 70s, but I know he did a lot in the 60s.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh boy, but at any rate, wow, why can't I find him on is it at the bottom? Oh, directed by Don Sharp. There it is.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, he did acting. I did not know that.
Yeah, early on, he had a
Rasputin the Mad Monk. Oh yeah, there you go. Here you go.
yeah,
Kiss of the Vampire, Witchcraft, Devil Ship Pirates was a hammer, swashbuckler. Curse of the Fly. We watched that.
yeah,
That was that third Fly movie. Fu Manchu, Rasputin, Brides of Fu Manchu, and then Psychomania. After that, he kind of went into a different. He
yeah,
stopped. He stopped with the horror stuff.
yeah.
Let's see here.
Did other things. I think. Let me see. I think I remember reading. He was in the. Yeah, he was in the war. Was it he? One of them was in the war, and they had like 6 ribs and a lung removed. I don't know if it was him though.
Really?
Yeah, was it him? No, it doesn't appear to be. Who was the other one? Oh, not Harry Spalding.
Uh, hmm.
Yeah, I think it might have been him, which may be why he went to directing than acting.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
Uh,
All right. But anyway, let's get on to the movie if I can find my notes here. Oh boy. Well, what happens basically at the beginning is they're tearing down a graveyard because they want to build. Are they trying to build? Are they doing waterworks or were they doing construction of?
they were doing construction of housing um, development, which seems to be a main theme in a lot of mysteries and comedies and whatnot in England. I guess because they're an island and they don't have as much land. So whenever they try to build on stuff, it's usually an old village, and then people start to complain, and then usually the developer gets murdered or killed somehow, whether it's a murderer or a witch.
Yeah,
That's
right.
of the motives for killing people in England. Building a housing development over some old land.
Well, I'm not. I don't remember 100%, but after at the beginning, you see them tearing down a graveyard, and Lon Chaney's like going nuts. because
right.
that's where his family was.
Yeah.
His
Uh,
family of like witches and warlocks,
yeah. All,
were buried.
all
The
the other,
Whitlocks, the Whitlocks.
yeah, all the other people in the cemetery had been moved, and he was the last one. And the there are two developers. One what's his name? Tom, I think. Tommy. He's his family is the ancient enemy of Lon Chaney's family. So it's the
They're
Lanier.
living in their house, I
Yeah, and
believe.
they're living in their house and stuff.
And
So yeah,
there's like,
they uh, bulldoze over a lot of the gravestones and graves of the.
which is kind of wrong. I mean,
Yes, would have to be.
and I
And
believe that I believe that the main lead of the family had told his partner, don't do that, and the guy did it anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So then you find out, the Tom Lanier goes to his partner, and he says, what are you doing? You can't do that. And the guy says, oh, come on, we got a population boom. We got to build houses. We got to make a lot of money. So I ordered the guys to just, bulldoze over that stuff. They had plenty of time to do it.
and
And then,
Lon's pissed.
yes, Lon's pissed. So Lon Chaney goes to Lanier's house and yells,
He bangs on the front door with his
"It's Shalane."
Wolfman cane. I don't know if they had a wolf on the.
So he complains to him, and Lanier doesn't know anything about it. And then you see, while Chaney's in there arguing with the older brother Tom, the younger brother Tony, or Todd, no Todd. He's he's talking to the niece of Whitlock.
Yeah, they're like involved.
Yeah, so it's kind of set up sort of like a Romeo and Juliet.
That was kind of surprising too. What happens, but
Yeah, and the older brother's name's Bill, not Tom. And so it's Bill is the older brother. He's married. Todd is the younger brother in love with the
Amy, Amy
Amy.
Whitlock.
Yeah, Amy Whitlock. And Whitlock is I think, is a name of some characters who practice witchcraft in some H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Oh, interesting.
So I think they were trying to sort of suggest
Yeah, the
that,
script was by Harry Spalding.
yeah,
So they're trying to intimate some Lovecraftian
right,
shenanigans, as it were.
yes. But then Bill, the older brother, goes and starts arguing with his partner, and that's when the partner says, "Oh, it's the, we're going to make a lot of money and stuff." And then towards the evening, Lon Chaney goes and he's pounding on the door and he busts into the office of the partner and is, yelling at him and threatening him. And then he leaves. And as Lon Chaney leaves the office, you see there's a voodoo doll hanging on the curtain in the office. So that night, the partner, he's in his bed, taking a bubble bath and whatnot. And then you see, before that,
Mm-hmm.
all right, you see the older brother Bill. He goes to the cemetery to see
Yep.
the death that had been done, and he finds this stone, which this witch symbol in it,
A pentagram.
pentagram, yeah, and then the weird symbols. Then he also sees this grave, and you hear this woman moaning, and he hears it, but he looks around and he's not sure if he heard anything in that. So then he leaves, and then it goes back, and then you see the coffin is open, and then you see the witch standing there, and then she, then the scene changes, and then you're then I think it's like what's his name, Lon Chaney goes and starts arguing with the partner, and he leaves. There's the doll there. So as the partner's taking a bath and doing bubble things, you see the witch and Chaney. They have another voodoo doll and they are slowly dipping it into a bowl of water.
Bowl of water.
Yeah, and then you see the partner. He starts like grabbing at his throat, like something's bothering him or choking him, and then suddenly he like slowly gets pushed underwater by unseen hands, and then you see his face. He's laying there in the water, dead. And then the next day, the police come and they want to interview all the people in the house. And in the house is Bill Lanier and
His wife Tracy.
There's
There's an
Todd,
aunt,
younger brother, the aunt Helen,
and a grandmother.
and the grandmother who stays upstairs. She's in a wheelchair. She never leaves her room, and she hasn't walked in like a decade since her husband died or something like that.
Right, yeah, right.
And well, before the police comes in, the Bill shows the hex sign he got he found a hex sign in the graveyard, and he puts it down next to the fireplace. And in the fireplace is a bigger.
Because it's a Whitlock house, you know.
Yes, and then it's when you find out. I don't remember if it's Helen or the grandmother that. I think it's the grandmother, and like he's asking about it, and she's telling him how the Laniers wanted the Whitlocks' land, so they believed the
Vanessa
Whitlock was
a
a
witch.
So what they did is they tried her. Instead of burning her, they buried her alive. And so now you know why you heard the crying in the coffin, and then the coffin opened and the witch standing there, because she is a witch and she never died. So then the police come. They're questioning them, and they said, well, your partner was found dead, they drowned. It was murder, but we don't have any evidence to it. We arrested Whitlock because he was seen arguing with your partner earlier that day, but there's no evidence.
But the inspector does bring the doll.
Yes, he brings the doll along, and then Aunt Helen like freaks out.
She's like, witchcraft doll or whatever.
So then she's like, well, I'm going to the city, because they're in the country in England somewhere. She says, I'm going to the city to stay with friends because this is bad juju, and I don't want anything to do with it. Then
then the young guy brings Amy to the house, and
right,
they don't want them. Either the mother or the grandmother or the aunt doesn't want her there because she's a Whitlock.
And obviously, if you're a Whitlock, you're also a witch.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get there later.
But then you see the next day, Helen leaves. She's driving in her car, and as she pulls away, you see there's one of those voodoo dolls hanging off the bumper.
Right.
And then she's driving, and
this is the aunt you're talking about, right?
The aunt. And then
she's leaving. She doesn't want any part of it.
She doesn't want to be anywhere near the Whitlocks. And then you see in the back there's the witch. She's sitting in the back. And then the aunt, she drives off the main road onto a side road going towards a garbage dump. And she's driving, and you see from her viewpoint, she looks like she's driving on the road.
She's hypnotized too. You can tell she's.
But she's actually driving towards a cliff, and then the car goes over the cliff, and then goes down. I don't know, like about 50, 60 feet, and crashes. It didn't look like much of a crash, to be honest, because we're used to Hollywood crashes where
with the explosion at the end.
As the car goes over the cliff, it explodes in midair.
But before the aunt got in the car to split, there was a scene where she was in bed at night, and the witch came into the room.
Right. Yeah, she was asleep in bed, and that's right. The window was blowing, the curtains were blowing, and then you see the witch there, and she's like coming over to her, like she's going to strangle her, and she slowly pulls the bed sheets down. And then you hear the the aunts scream, and then she blames
Amy.
Amy, but Amy's asleep.
Right.
So, that's one of the things. I'm going. That's one of the reasons why she's leaving. So, let's see.
So the next day, the guys leave the house. I forgot what they were going on, a business deal or something.
They were going to to London, to the bank to get money or loans or whatever for.
And they leave Tracy and Amy alone in the house.
Yeah, and the grandmother's dead. You don't see the grandmother.
No, you don't see her. She's up in her room. Yeah.
Yeah. So the brothers leave to go to the bank. They have to stay overnight because it's a long drive. And then Stacy is in. Her husband calls her and says, "Oh, you got there good." Oh, she's talking to her husband on the phone, and in the background you see a shadow on the stairway coming down slowly, and then the door slowly closing.
Right. All those are creepy stuff.
Yeah, and then so it slams on Stacy, so she looks
Tracy,
and she's looking around, going, "Oh, what's going on?" Oh, and then she goes up and she's bringing up a glass of milk for
Amy.
in a room. She doesn't see her, so then she's looking around, and then she goes into the grandmother's room, and she says, "Have you seen Amy?" She says, "No, isn't she in her room?" And it's like, "No, she's not." And the grandmother goes, "Oh, I don't know where she is." So then Tracy goes and she's closing the curtains for the grandmother, and she sees Amy walking towards the mausoleum or the crypt, where it seems like not only are Whitlocks buried there, but that's where they buried the aunt in that crypt. So
there was a scene before that. I don't remember what the significance was, but when the mother and Amy are in the house, they're talking and they see a frog.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that meant that somebody was gonna die or something like that, but at any rate.
I know they use frogs in witchcraft. I don't know what a frog means. Yeah, maybe somebody's dying, or maybe it's just a sign of a witch.
So they see Amy walking out in the middle of the night to the mausoleum or the cemetery at some point around that time.
Right. So she after she closes the curtains and she tells the grandmother, she says goodnight to the grandmother. The grandmother wheels herself over and kind of looks out the window at where the Tracy was looking and sees Amy going into the crypt. So then Stacy goes downstairs. She goes out into the crypt and she opens the door and she's calling Amy's name and she's walking around and there's a I don't know, like a dresser or something that was moved aside and there's this opening. So she walks down the stairs and then the door slams. She gets spooked. She runs up and then she's looking around and then she goes back down and the torches are burning. And apparently it's not only a crypt, it's also a wine cellar because she's passing a wine rack and stuff. And then she goes in and she goes all the way to the end of the corridor, and then there's an open door there. She opens the door because she hears chanting, and she looks and she sees a coven of witches. They're all wearing hoods and those long robes. And then there's Lon Chaney, and he's doing some kind of ritual, and he takes a knife, and you assume it's a little infant because it's covered in cloth. So which he stabs in the throat or the chest or something. Then he hands it over to one of the hooded people, and Tracy's there, and she's looking on horrified. And then as the person holding the dead baby turns around to put it in some bowl or something, you see that it's Amy, and then Tracy screams Amy and alerts all the coven that they've been discovered, so they capture her and grab her, and then the scene changes where it's so she screams, and then it's like the grandmother hears something or senses something.
Right.
She goes over.
She's on the second floor, and there's a ton of stairs.
Yes. So she wheels herself out into the hall and then to the edge of the stairs, and then she slowly lifts herself up and she starts walking down the stair. And then she gets to the landing, and then she turns around and she's about to go walking down the second pair of the stairs leading to the first floor. And you see the witch behind her who slowly comes at her. And, the grandmother standing there holding on to the banister and looking and watching as the witch comes with her hands out. And then the witch pushes the grandmother down the stairs and she rolls down and falls in a heap.
And then after that, you see that they caught Tracy and they tied her to like a slab, and
Right.
and they drug her, and I guess they're gonna do something with her because she's wearing robes or something at this point.
It's
She's
like
gonna be sacrificed or something.
yeah,
I
there's
don't
a
know.
big knife near her, so you assume she's going to be
Yeah, yeah.
But then Bill and Todd are in the city. You see them get out of the bank, and then Bill tries to call his wife Tracy. No answer.
But
And as the
grandma's still alive.
yeah, you see that the grandmother's still alive. So then
I don't know if she reached them on the phone, but
they don't know yet. So they drive up, and then Bill. They stop at the Whitlock place, and Todd, who's in love with Amy, he's knocking on the door trying to get her. And he says, "Well, you drive home to find Tracy, and and I'll meet you there." Because apparently, where Whitlock lives and where the Lanyers' house is, it's not that far a walking distance. So then Bill gets there and he's looking around. He comes in and he's calling for Tracy, and then he goes up to his grandmother's room, and the door opens and there's a nurse there, and he's like, "Who are you?" He says, "Well, I'm the nurse. Your grandmother had a fall. She was able to crawl to the phone to get a doctor." She said, "I mean, how did she get there?" "Well, she walked." And the doctor comes out and says she walked. Her paralysis is hysterical, and she felt that once her husband died,
right.
she the only safe place was her room, and that's why she stayed there.
Right, but after taking that fall, you thought, hey, if she's not dead, she's got to be like,
Messed up.
mega cripple,
Yeah.
whatever,
An
But
old frail lady.
she was tough enough to call the doctors.
So then she tells they get her in bed, and grandma's kind of drugged up with painkillers and stuff. So Bill asks, where's Amy? I mean, where's
Tracy?
So she's in the crypt. She went to follow Amy. So then Bill runs there, and he's.
But before that, there was a scene where when the other guy Todd is in Amy's house, Chaney chases him out. He kicks him out of there. So he's gone from there. So then the other guy, Bill, goes into the crypt.
Goes into the crypt, and he's looking around, and suddenly Todd comes in after him, scares him. And then he's like, "How did you get here?" So I took the shortcut, through the woods. So they're looking around, and they go to that big dresser that's now in front of the arch. And he said, "Well, behind here is a tunnel that leads to a chapel that was built, I don't know, early on. I guess, when I think it was Catholics and Protestants were fighting. So it was one of those two chapels where they could hide and practice the mass in secret." So they move the dresser away, and they discover the arch, and Todd goes, "Oh, there's a fire there." And then the brother looks, because there's supposed to be no one in there. So they go down and they're walking, and then they come to the door that goes into the chapel, and it has like a bar across it. So they lift it up, they open the door, and they look, and then they see Tracy on the altar. So then they untie her, and they're waking her up. They're walking her back and forth, trying to, wake her up. Oh, because she's been drugged. So then as they're walking out, they see the
room where the ceremony's going on.
So they come out of that room, and then they see the coven walking towards them. So they hide, and then the coven goes in, and then they discover Tracy's gone. Like, what's his name? Lon Chaney discovers Tracy's gone, and as he discovers that, Todd starts moving Tracy away, to get her out of there. And then Bill goes and he closes the door and puts the bar across it to block them, and then he runs up to catch up to Bill and Stace and Tracy. So they're going, and they go up the stairs, and
they lock the door.
They lock the door. No, wait a minute. Yes, they lock the door, and then Bill goes down. Todd goes down to rescue Amy, because at that time the coven is on their way, and they see the witch.
Yeah, the witch is already in the coven. She
already came, is in the coven. So then Lon Chaney senses that Todd's coming back, so he hides to capture Todd and use him as a sacrifice. And then Amy, who loves him, says, "No, you can't." Then she pushes over an incense burner that's on fire, and the witch starts burning, and then the whole place catches fire, and it's like beams are falling down. A beam with fire falls down on Lon Chaney and kills him, and then the witch
and Amy fight.
Yeah, the witch and Amy fight, and then Todd gets there and he's calling Amy's name, but the fire's too great. It's a big conflagration. Meanwhile, somehow that made the house catch on fire. So that's all burning. So they go in, they rescue the doctor, the nurse, the grandmother, Bill and Stacy. They come out, and they're watching the house burn. And apparently they actually...
Yeah, they really burned a house.
Burned the house down. And
they did want to make some new construction there, so...
Yeah. So they're watching it burn. Then Todd comes along, and he's all sad and dejected because Amy died in the fire along with the witch. So she kind of saved everybody by fighting with the witch, And then I guess that kills all the Whitlocks, and that puts an end to the feud.
Like the Hatfields and McCoy, but with witches.
Yeah,
that's a cool movie. I liked it.
It was
effective.
It was fun. It wasn't. Well, I guess now it's not scary because we're so used to big graphic special effects with things squirting. Somebody gets their head cut off, you see the veins.
Well, yeah.
But back then, it was creepy when you had actors sort of turn and look at the screen, at the camera, and come towards you because you got this big giant head in the movie theater and stuff. And usually actors and actresses didn't look at the cameras. They sort of looked at the other characters. So when they sort of turned their attention on you, it was very unnerving. Because there was one time a couple of times the witch did it, and one time Lon Chaney did it. And it was really unsettling. It's
an old style, horror movie. It goes more for atmosphere and creepiness than super. Obviously, Hammer did a little bit of gore, but not much.
Yeah,
they're bloodletting. There's not. There's like a lot of shadows, a lot of atmosphere. A lot of witchcraft.
Yeah, a lot of fog and stuff.
Fog and I mean, I found myself rooting for the family and getting into the movie. I didn't think that Amy was going to be part of the coven, but I wasn't surprised that because her uncle, she seemed to be like a good character, but in the end it was like she was good because she saved everybody, but she was in all the the witch stuff or whatever. So
I guess it's like even if at the end you turn out to be good and save stuff, you still kind of need to be punished for your past actions or something.
Yeah,
Like
especially if they were sacrificing,
that.
kids or
Yeah.
maybe it was an animal. I don't know. It was covered in,
It was covered in cloth. That's what I thought at first, an animal, but it had like a round thing where the head would be in a longer.
oh, yeah, I didn't really notice it that much, but okay. But yeah, when they're going into the house is creepy. When they go into the mausoleum, that's the thing about these old movies that I like so much is they're actually going into real
Right.
places. They're not going into sets, which sets are fine, but that's the real deal. That's a real. I think it is. It should have looked like it was a real little mausoleum house or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, this could have been a Hammer movie, but it reminds me more of a movie they did called Horror Hotel, which was with Christopher Lee. It's not the same plot, but it had something to do with witch coming back,
Right.
and it was black and white, and it was very tense. I'm not sure if I don't think Don Sharp directed that one, but no, the guy who directed that one was John Llewellyn Moxey, who I think directed The Night Stalker. So he was a good horror guy or whatever. I think he directed episodes of Boris Karloff's Thriller too. So, but yeah, it was a good movie. I mean, I didn't. I was originally we were going to do what we call What the Peeper Saw, but then when I watched halfway through it, I was like, not only is this movie kind of boring, but maybe it gets better at the end. But it looked like it was dealt with some subjects I didn't want to talk about. You didn't watch any of it, did you, or did you
No,
watch the
not
Peeper?
any of it, but I
I was
usually
I was
try.
hoping I would catch it before you watched it. So good.
Yeah, I usually try like you to watch it either the night before or the day
Yeah.
of, because that's when it sticks in my head, and I can't watch any other movie because then I start to confuse the
Yeah,
storylines.
that's it. Well, I have to write down notes,
Yeah,
because if not, I'll get confused or whatever. Not that this had such an intricate plot, but they had enough scenes in it to, you know.
yeah, yeah. That you had to keep things straight.
But yeah, 80-minute movie, the perfect time.
Yeah,
I mean, simple story, nice kind of shock ending a little bit, not exactly totally shock. I'm glad grandma made it because it would be kind of crappy to see her like get killed by the witch and like, she was trying her best, but that was kind of cool, that she was able to, make it through and yeah. Yeah. The
yeah,
Brits made good horror movies back then. They really did.
yeah. They were atmospheric, and like you said, they used real locations. Not, or if they did build a set, it was close to what the real thing looked like. Because like if you look at some of the AIP stuff done in their Poe series,
Yeah, they're sets.
the big sets and you have a big open space in the castle stuff. I mean, the castle wall wouldn't be able to hold all that stuff, and real castles are kind of tinier and more cramped and stuff. So, and which adds to the atmosphere. We watched one thing where I can't remember the name of it, but they went down into a real crypt, and then some woman was killed or something, and then there's like lightning and thunder, and one lightning flash, she was sitting up in the
Oh, that
car.
was I forgot we watched that. That was Terror in the Crypt.
Yes,
That was a creepy movie, man.
that was a creepy movie. Yeah, and again, that dilapidated, claustrophobic
Oh.
buildings added to the atmosphere of
That
the
that scene you're talking about, I remember seeing it as a kid
right.
in the 60s and freaking me out. I
Mm.
didn't know what movie it was. And then when I watched the movie again in like the 80s, my friend had it. Oh, that's the scene. Yeah. But where she's pointing and all of a sudden the coffin opens and the other woman's like, yeah, yeah. That's uh that's the story of Carmilla, the
Yes,
female.
the vampire.
Yeah, the vampire lovers. That's that story. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sheridan Le Fanu was the writer of that. That's the lesbian vampire story. Yeah, way ahead of its time.
Yep.
But yeah, no, cool movie. I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm glad I found this because this was actually more of a creature feature than the other one.
Yeah.
So you had
Yeah.
a witch. She was creepy. You know.
The definition of B movies has really changed over time,
Yeah.
and I think it originally referred to westerns. was a lot of, at that time, westerns were
cheaply
popular.
made westerns.
Yeah, made by the lesser.
Also, like, you know, what do you call? I'm not gonna say Tarzan, but you know, some of those old series that, you know, as the years went on, they got cheaper and cheaper. You know.
Right. Yeah,
So,
those jungle adventure kind of things where they had stock footage of various animals, you know, and then you see the stuffed lion, the guy wrestling the stuffed lion.
yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. No, B movie just became like like a a whatever for a movie that's not an A picture, not a
Right.
big budget picture, a low budget.
Yeah,
You
low
know.
budget. Yeah.
And then of course it went on to having like Z movies and, you know, whatever, you know, like the not even low budget, like no budget, you know,
Yeah.
and those things or whatever. But anyway, yeah, Witchcraft from 1964. I think there's another one from 70, but I'm not 100% sure. It's a good Halloween movie. Definitely check it out. It's on YouTube. Nice copy. Real atmospheric, real creepy. Yeah, I liked it. So, all right, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for today's B movie. We'll be doing we're gonna be doing a comic book show today, right? Too.
Yeah, we're doing.
Okay. The Jeff Jones thing.
Yeah.
All right, I'm prepared for that too. So,
Sounds
all right,
good.
man. Well, we'll be gone for a couple of weeks, but in the meantime, Roddy,
You should watch more B movies.